Hey, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. But right now in California, it's morning and it's May 27th. And this is Aragon Live. Ken Delaney's back with us after his vacation. You've got Adam Pease and yours truly, Jim Lundy. And we're talking all things tech, emerging tech, what's going on in tech. After a big week last week where we kind of reviewed everything that went on at Google I/O, which was a lot. One of the things we're going to talk about is some of the Apple Worldwide Developer contest. And what's going on with that. So we're talking about the pre-call, and one of the things that came up was the foldable iPhone, that some of the cases are trying to be. I don't think they're going to announce the foldable iPhone at WWDC. Do you think they are, Ken?
I think they could. I mean, I think I'm with you. It sort of depends on how if they have if it's really proven out in their testing. They won't release anything until it's perfect. But so I think it's a 60% chance they will. They certainly could announce the software for it. And because there'll be a lot of software announcements. iOS 27 will be talked about there, and could be some of that. So I think I'm kind of with you. It's kind of mixed.
Yeah. So there's probably more interoperability. There might be OLED iPad. So they're working on a new iPad, 11-inch and 13-inch.
Yeah, I think the other things I would see there is they are going to have Apple Intelligence everywhere. It's been waiting and waiting and waiting. We know they have a partnership with Google. We saw a lot of the capabilities in Google at I/O last week, right? So that's going to, a lot of that functionality will pass through into Apple Intelligence, right? Which was a very good move for the company, for Apple and Google to get together. So I think you're going to see Siri be finally smarter, right, and much more capable, like we've been seeing in the interactions at Google I/O. There'll be a chatbot Siri, right? That's similar to Claude or ChatGPT. I think they're finally going to have what everybody's been wanting is native capabilities. And the benefit to Apple, I think, is going to be that, like they always do, they really glue it into everything seamlessly. It'll be in all their functionality. It'll really be very, very useful for people. So while, we've seen tremendous capability across Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, et cetera, I think what Apple's beautiful touch is, they just make it that much more user-friendly and more integrated with everything else. So I think finally, to me, that's what's going to be the big story in iOS 27 and all the functionality they roll out across everything they announce.
Yeah, so I think they might surprise us, but I think you're right. It's really the coming out party for the new CEO. Anyway,
and he's a hardware guy, so maybe that raises the stakes on the foldable device for sure.
Yeah, so let's keep going. So Salesforce, they are basically trying to build a data platform by leveraging Informatica. I mean, they've got a lot of assets. They've got Tableau, they've got Informatica. I think that will they ever really become a big data platform? I don't think so. But they've got to leverage the asset that they have.
Yeah, they've been getting hit hard in the market for not really doing as much as expected here. And if any application area should benefit from AI, it's the Salesforce, right? And the call centers and all the people they support. So yeah, it's a little mysterious that they've kind of fallen behind here.
Yeah. Ken, you want to talk about EY and Microsoft?
Yeah. So one of our big themes here is that we've seen the next generation of AI start to really hit, where companies other than tech companies are starting to deploy AI and getting real tremendous productivity gains here. And Microsoft's have been a little bit behind here in terms of its delivery of AI in terms of ease of use and functionality. So they're launching this effort with EY, a consulting firm, about $1 billion to have their engineers join the EY consultants to really deploy out in various industries. So they're talking about finance, industrials, energy, consumer, retail, to really start to get Microsoft AI capability deployed in these areas. But the secondary feature that's in the story is that they want to have an early competent capability organization to give them better feedback on what they need to improve. So this $1 billion effort is not only to roll out more effective AI and get the productivity gains in the customers with Microsoft technology, but also to give them a better feedback loop so they can improve their capabilities relative to their competitors. So I think this is worth talking about as part of our phase 2 of AI deployment discussion we've been having. Jim, over to you.
Hey, so this story kind of supports our position that vertical or industry agents are going to be coming online. So Aetna's going to have a claims agent, a claims assistant. So it's called CAM, Claims Assistant Manager. Anyway, so that will help people with filing claims. I think it's a good move. I think you're going to see more of that. And it does support that, we saw agents going role-based first and then industry-based. And, there's already agent assist in the contact center, which helps internal agents help customers. I think this is a very good move on Aetna's part. I think all the others will follow. Adam, DuckDuckGo?
Yeah, so DuckDuckGo installs are up. And Jim, you were telling me this is basically due to the Google AI concerns. Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's what they say it is.
It's because of like these AI summary overviews that you get when you do a search. Because now, before giving you actual search results, what Google will do is they'll use Gemini, presumably, to basically compile this, original answer, this original LLM answer to whatever the search query is. And these turn out to be hit or miss, like, let's put it that way. Sometimes they can actually be pretty useful, and sometimes they can be really misleading. I think when Google originally released this feature, people were showing examples of, they would type like, should I eat rocks? And the AI would encourage them to go eat rocks. So it was definitely not very good at the time that it came out. And I think we are seeing, among some consumers, a real anti-AI sentiment among a certain small segment of the consumer base, where you are having these people that are just sick of it and they don't want it in anything, and they're going to opt more for these tools that maybe have less AI. But I just wonder what the opportunity cost as a tech provider at this point of not being an AI is.
One question here for you, Adam, is I just saw this morning that Zscaler's stock was way down, and they, try to provide these universal protected, zero trust platforms. Could that be any reason why DuckDuckGo installs are up 30%? Because Zscaler's on the way down. Any relation there?
It like due to security, you're saying?
Yeah, that they're both, remote security platforms. So.
Yeah, it could be. That's an interesting question. I hadn't even thought about that. I think that there is a lot of issue with Google search. It's funny to hear people saying DuckDuckGo installs are up, because the truth is, you can just use this through a website like Google. People originally used Google. So I don't really know if that's the main way that people use it. And if we're talking about the search algorithm, it's like you don't need to install a whole browser to use their search.
Just VPNs to a cloud, and you're trusting the cloud provider as the protector.
Right. But yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't think anyone is going to defend the quality of Google search at this point, because I think it's pretty obvious that it's become a lot harder to find things and the ads are very obtrusive. I don't know if AI is the biggest problem with it even. But that's my 2 cents. So next up, we have an Anthropic story. We talked about Mythos when it originally leaked, which was their high-grade model, which was kind of designed for computer security use cases. And they said they weren't going to release it because it was basically too unsafe, in the sense that it was discovering vulnerabilities that they basically weren't ready to release to the public because of the kinds of risks that can come for cybersecurity. But now they are saying that they are going to eventually release these models or models of that class to the public when they can be made safe. So, they're throwing a bone to those people who wanted that, but I think we always knew they were going to eventually release better models, and I don't think they're actually going to release the same models. So the fact that they're saying they're going to release these, not too much to say here, but I think that it would be very cool to see one of these frontier labs actually release a dedicated cybersecurity model for public use, even if it's, a lot weaker than whatever they had with Mythos. We've never seen that kind of specialized high-grade model capability come out for the widespread use. So next up, I think we got Jim here about Amazon.
Yeah, so Amazon claims they're going to let their AI shopping tech be sold to other retailers. I think a lot of retailers that they're skeptical about Amazon, would they spy on them? So I think Amazon's looking for money, and not that saying they're greedy, but I mean, it's clever, but I would say some small retailers might take them up on it. But see, Amazon is not always kind to competitors. So the question is, will they be trusted? I don't know. Team, any thoughts on that?
Well, it's hard to buck Amazon. I mean, the fact that they're putting more routes into other retailers, getting them more glued. And we talked earlier before the call about Google's new universal shopping cart. Maybe they were looking at that as some kind of threat, because what Google was promising there was the ability to just take anything that shows up on a Google search and be able to buy from it without having to go to a single provider like Amazon. So maybe maybe this is an emerging battle here about how you can bring in all the retailers that don't necessarily want to have stock at Amazon, together. I don't know, but just some suppositions there. Anyways, I'll take the next one here, which is about Huawei addressing token-intensive enterprise workloads. As you saw at the beginning of Google I/O, much of what was discussed was the tremendous increase in tokens, which are basically the unit of measurement that you pay for, and in performance of these particular AI applications that everybody's running. Agentic AI is always tied to tokens. So one of the reasons why tokens are, you got to get more efficient in your use of tokens. You're going to be spending a lot of money, and a lot of the reason why that happens is you've got to put together a number of different pieces to build your application. So Huawei, Chinese company, of course, is trying to make the time to first token, so to speak, they're more efficient. And they're doing that by combining a number of layers: data lakes, AI platform and vector management, compute and model infrastructure, agent frameworks, and data resilience. So these 5 layers are part of their plan to provide an integrated environment which will make applications, consume fewer tokens and be more efficient. And given that, that's real money that companies have to spend, this type of environment certainly is attractive. We'll see. I don't think many U.S. companies are going to be using Huawei's model for obvious reasons.
No, they're not.
Yeah, but we've got to see some of the other companies in the other parts of the world come up with a structure like this, because I think it's very important to have a much more integrated model. And I have not seen this definition yet from others. So I thought they did at least laid down the gauntlet, so to speak, for what needs to be done to make applications more efficient. And Jim,
All right. So Zendesk is they're in agent land. They do customer support, or sometimes called CX, and they're saying that they will integrate across multiple LLM engines. So that's great. The problem is that there's so many vendors offering AI agents now. It's hard to stand out in a crowd. And the question is, why would you use their agents? So I think that's a fair question. That's a question that everybody's going to get asked. I remember being at an event last year and somebody said they had 16 vendors calling on them for AI agents. So that's great. They work across multiple LLM engines, but I would just say maybe that's not a good idea, because they have to secure all those engines. And so what's their security model? And by the way, you have to ask everybody how they have agentic identity security set up for their agents, which is an area we cover. And we're about to announce some hot vendors in that area. And we're going to be doing a globe in probably early next year, Q4, Q1. So yeah, so we'll monitor them. They might qualify to be on our globe for agents in the contact center. We'll see. And then I've got one. So basically, there's going to be more tools, but Revenium has a tool for token spending. A related story to that is Microsoft just told all their engineers to stop using Claude because the bill was too high, and they just invested $5 billion in Claude, but then their bill was so high they said stop using it. Very, very interesting. Which means, wait a minute, Microsoft, what are you doing with your own models? Where are your models? And so that becomes a thing. And then Adam, you're going to talk about Microsoft as well on GitHub.
Yeah, so people may know that Microsoft bought GitHub. Gosh, at this point, it must be 4 or 5 years ago. It's been a little while now. And this did give them a head start where they released GitHub Copilot and branded kind of their AI coding tools as GitHub based, maybe because they were using data to train models from GitHub. In any case, Copilot has not been as much of a hit as for AI, for coding, especially as Anthropic's tools, as ChatGPT, as Gemini, even as Grok, I think. And so these, the advantage Microsoft maybe could have had, they've squandered it a bit, and especially I think this is becoming clear to people now as we're seeing a lot of issues emerge on the GitHub platform itself. For those who don't know, this is just a place where you post and save your code basically and collaborate. But it's really the main and primary place to do this for developers. So what's been happening is people have been using so many AI agents that they'll just submit pull requests, which, just add new code to a repository. And these requests will be way more frequent than humans, and they will be submitted by AI. And oftentimes just for the sake of, adding more requests. Maybe someone's trying to fake a resume or something. So they have these AIs building fake apps. And you end up with a lot of this kind of digital slop code on GitHub's platform. and it's apparently leading to outages in terms of they're having trouble actually managing the throughput of all this agent activity because it's totally increased, the engagement with the platform itself. And I think there are concerns about security issues coming because some of this code contains new kinds of vulnerabilities, and it's not always clear to people at first glance whether the pull request was made by a human or an AI. So it can be hard to tell. But I've heard some of these Linux Foundation repositories, for example, will get like completely besieged with pull requests to the point where developers of the open source repository have had to shut down all new submissions to the open source project. And it basically just isn't even possible to maintain an open source project at that scale anymore because it's getting essentially, what's the word? I think it makes me think of a DDoS attack. It's almost like a DDoS attack or something. It's just all these AI agents throwing pull requests at it. And eventually, these Linux guys who are working for free, they just don't have the time to manage all these like random agent requests that are just pretending to fix a bug that's not even there. And so it's a big problem. It's a really big problem, honestly. And I don't know if the biggest deal is that it's holding them back in AI coding, or just that they're making the GitHub platform worse for everyone to use. And GitHub is kind of like, there's not really a replacement or an alternative to GitHub if you're a programmer. Everyone kind of needs to use GitHub. And so I don't see an obvious solution because there's no easy way to tell if AI is making the request or not. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this. I thought it was an interesting one.
I think there's a theme that we surfacing here throughout the discussion today. That Microsoft's getting a bit, I don't know if this is the right word, but a bit lazy. I mean, we've criticized them before for the integration with OpenAI into Copilot into the applications, and it really wasn't all that good. They did a good job there. Here we have the story about Huawei's, nice little layered application framework. We haven't seen something similar from Microsoft. The deal with EY is trying to give them better feedback on what they've been doing right or wrong. So I think, there's some cracks here in Microsoft. I mean, obviously they're a dominant player across the board and everybody's got to use them for lots of things. But, I think, the market hasn't seen them perform as well as I think their competitors, Meta, Google, and others have done. So there's a theme here, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be a lot more attacks. I'll note that our service that hosts our website, which is WP Engine, they're announcing a new agent blocking service that you have to turn on, because I think, look, there's going to be an onslaught. We haven't even, I mean, we're going to be talking about this a lot because the agent attackers are coming.
Yep.
And GitHub, I mean, look, GitHub is vulnerable. I think they're going to have multiple distributions and backups of that. And by the way, the big thing I'll say, we've said it, the last 5 years, back up your data, back up your PCs, back them up. Don't wait, back them up, because the agents are coming. And that was a big thing at RSAC this year. The agents are coming and they're not nice, and they'll find your stuff and they'll steal it. So the world is changing, and you have to have basically real zero trust. Don't give access to anything, and don't keep important data on a machine that's connected to the network. So we're going to have talk about things that they talk about in defense called air gap. We have machines that are not connected to the internet. So anyway, look, a lot of good stuff here today. A little bit of a slow week. Next week, we've got Cisco Live, we've got Apple WWDC, we've got Highland Community that Adam's going to. So a lot of stuff. And so we'll catch you next week. I will be probably in Vegas catching you guys. So we'll put this recording up on our YouTube channel and on aragonresearch.com. Thanks, team.